Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, the Ice Dragon, Rayron VR. Take another manga spotlight for you guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at My Dress Up Darling Volume 1. Now this particular manga, the only reason why I caught attention to this was when I typically do my State of Ice podcast over on this particular channel. It caught my attention because it has been trending like number one, number two top anime for the month, and it's been trending number one for a while recently, for the month of February. And it's like, why is this so popular? It's sometimes even more popular than Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan. And so when I kind of started to see that, okay, what is this all about? So I found that there was a manga version of this and decided to pick it up and see what it's all about. So we're going to be talking about that today. So this is volume 1. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back here and see what we've got. All right. Traumatized by a childhood incident with a friend who took exception to his love for traditional dolls, doll artisan hopeful Wakana Goju passes his days as a loner, finding solace in a home ex is that EC room at his high school. Oh, a home ec, excuse me, room at his high school. To Wakana people like beautiful Marion Kitsugaz, a trendy girl who's always surrounded by a throng of friends. It's particularly an alien from another world, but when cheerful Marion, never one to be shy, spots Wakana sewing away one day after school. She bargains and ultimately ropes her quiet classmate into her hobby, cosplay. So, this is rated M for mature, and rightfully so. This is, I definitely agree with this rating because there's a lot of scenes in here that, yeah, it is definitely M. MSRP is $12.99, and definitely by a distributor that not featured often on this channel, and that is Square Enix. I'm used to Square Enix being a gaming publisher, but not on the manga front. And definitely interesting to see Square Enix being involved with the manga front. And I think they definitely have a hit here when it comes to My Dress Up Darling. So, non-spoiler review. So overall, I enjoyed this manga. It is a very cute story between two individuals sharing their passion for a hobby. I can definitely appreciate that because, I have a lot of hobbies. You can watch my Endless Collectibles channel on that. But it is just a cute story about two individuals just sharing their passion for what they do best. And definitely, if you're a cosplayer, and I know there's plenty of you out there that love to cosplay, this is basically the manga for you because it is celebrating the hobby of being a cosplayer and showing the difficulties to become, a character that you want to portray as. And this story does it very well. There's a lot of comedy points. There's a lot of just a good mix of the two main characters, Goju and Marianne or Marion. So I definitely recommend it if you're a cosplayer or if you just like a cute, funny story. But with that, that's basically all I can say for non-spoilers. So again, we're going to go into the spoilers now. So if you don't want to get spoiled, feel free to watch this video at a later time. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So beginning of the manga, we're pretty much introduced to our two main characters, Goju and Marion. Goju is definitely kind of the antisocial, not really having a lot of friends because, he's working on his passion for henna dolls, which is basically this little thing that he is holding on to right here. Let's see if I can get this thing to focus here. So that's basically what a henna doll is. And again, it's just a hobby. Everyone's got to have the hobbies to, cope with real world stresses. So again, very introverted to himself. And then we get a polar opposite character in Marianne, who is definitely the sociable type, the pretty type. Everyone wants to be with her, and so forth. And so we start to see interaction between these two. The first interaction we get was after school to clean up the area of the classrooms. and we start to see that interaction between the two. Gojo is definitely very shy, and Marion is very outgoing. And so the next day, he's working on basically his very old sewing machines, and realizes that he's hurting himself trying to deal with his antique sewing machine to work on the dolls. And so the next day, he decides to go to the home ec class to use their fancy state of the art sewing machine, so that way he can progress his hobby. And that's when Marianne comes in and stumbles upon that Goju actually sews and actually has this hobby of doing with the dolls. And then we start to realize that Marianne has this passion for cosplaying. And so basically, she chose to Goju the kind of character that she's trying to cosplay as, and not too great success. Let's just say that. When you compare and contrast the two, it doesn't come close to what the character's supposed to look like. And Goju's got an eye for, cloth or material, and basically he's given a cosplay book from Kita, or Marianne, excuse me, and that's when he really starts to learn how to deal with the fabrics and everything. And you can start to see that Goju has a talent for soistry, for clothing, and he learns really fast how to do all that stuff. So, just by a simple book, we can tell that he's got a skill for clothing lines. And so, after that, they basically in the manga we have basically a two montages that kind of happens in this volume. The first one is basically a montage of them. They need to take measurements, and when you're dealing with clothing, you have to take a lot of measurements to include some places where can be quite awkward to say the least, and that's where kind of the M maturity comes into play with the rating of this manga. But it's cute, it's funny. You got Gaju, who is definitely the shy one. Definitely doesn't want to take these kind of awkward measurements of the female body. And we've got Marianne, who is the polar opposite, who is here. Go ahead and measure all the distances you need to take in basically my swimsuit. And so we get a cute little montage of these two characters interacting. And then once all the measurements are done, then the next day they have to there's another montage for them shopping. Now they need to get all of the parts they need to do these particular cosplay. And the cosplay that they're working on, you can tell how the story can evolve a little bit. Yeah, needless to say, that is the character from the story. So there's some kinkiness going on with Marianne here, and it's definitely foreshadowing probably some future volumes coming up, because Gojo has these very kinky type of dreams, and I'll just leave it at that. Again, that's why it's rated M for mature, but it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of develops in future volumes. But until then, we kind of see these two go around shopping. Marianne is definitely flirtatious with Gojo, and again, Gojo is kind of the shy type, so you can imagine their interactions with this particular volume. But there's some interesting questions that are kind of brewing from this. Are they actually going to have a relationship out of this? You can tell that the early stages of a relationship starting to form, and it's really cute to see. Again, that's a general theme of this volume, is that it is a very cute story. And so it also brings a question, Marianne is definitely rich. She's able to afford all the pieces of this particular cosplay, from the wigs to the type of fabric to the boots. And that's another thing I got to give the author credit for in this particular volume, is that in the cosplaying business, there's so many things to consider when you're actually wanting to dress up for a particular character. And that montage of going through, doing all the measurements, doing all the shopping, really shows that the storyteller really did the homework on just the amount of process it takes to go through this. And then once they get all the parts, it is then they realize that Marion basically has a deadline for Goju, and that is in 2 weeks, which definitely is going to leave a lot of stress for Goju to try to do, because the cosplay is definitely intricate, a lot of details that are involved with it, and it means that they're going to be spending a lot more time together. But that's kind of where this particular volume ends. And overall, I really enjoyed it. I Now, is it better than Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan? I don't think so, and that's just because I'm kind of biased in my statement, because I prefer more action type of stories over just simple character development stories, like romance and comedy and so forth. But it is definitely popular. There's no doubt about it. It's been topping the charts in the anime side of the house. Not necessarily on the manga side, but again, that's fine. I usually use the term interchangeably. The story's just, it's for the most part, again, this is not for all of the stories out there, but um, sometimes a story can be adapted to anime or to manga and still be kind of the same thing. I understand that there's stories out there that change, but again, for the most part, it can be the same. I'm not saying it's the same for all of it, but overall, I definitely enjoyed it, and I recommend it. It's a very good, unique story, especially if you're a cosplayer. Again, I cannot say that enough. If you're a cosplayer, you're gonna love this story, because I think you can definitely relate to the struggles of this, and get a good laugh out of it too. But yeah, that's all I really gotta say about this particular volume. If you have any manga suggestions that I should spotlight on, feel free to leave a comment down below. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you like what I do, feel free to look at the links down below to support the Icey Fellowship. Thank you guys for watching, and wing hugs to all, and to all a good night.